Hey everyone, it is Friday, May 6th, and I'm still watching Babylon 5. Have been since Wednesday. I'm most of the way through season 2, called The Coming of Shadows. Um, I watched this show as it was airing. um, about 15 years ago, give or take. It started in 93, ended in 98, late 98. Um, and so it had 5 seasons. Um, but for the most part, it aired at a time in my life where I was definitely receptive to the supposed covert lessons it teaches. It taught. Um, Straczynski said somewhere that he wanted it to kind of teach a little bit, but under the radar, if you will. So the general message of the series is tolerance, it's perseverance, it's doing what needs to be done, it's things like that. But you get little gems out of it. I mean, it doesn't entirely take itself too seriously. There's the classic fasten zip scene from season 1 where Garibaldi and Sinclair are just having a conversation because they got nothing to do. And so Garibaldi's like, when you put your pants on in the morning, do you fasten zip or do you zip then fasten? Like, why are you bringing this up? These are the things I think about sometimes. Which then made me think about it. I was like, oh, yeah, okay. But there are much more wiser comments throughout the series, like Faith Manages, um, and others. And the series definitely handles religion in a particular way, mostly through it's your way of doing things, so when in Rome, or it's your way of doing things, please respect the fact that I'm not going to participate, what have you. And I'm keen to that. I'm a live and let live kind of guy, if you will. If someone's being absolutely stupid, I'll try and step in, but it reminds me of a time when there was a guy at my university in the free speech zone, if you will. And he was on his soapbox preaching about the Lord, but he was doing it in a way that when I heard about it later, I was innately offended. He was telling women that were wearing tight clothing or revealing clothing. He was calling them whores, and it was just he was essentially insulting people in the name of Jesus, basically. And this caused a crowd to show up, and they had to send security to make sure no one was going to get hurt, and yada yada yada. But when I heard about it later, I was like, gosh, he really doesn't know what he's talking about, does he? Sure, he's perfectly welcome to insult everybody, as long as he expects to get insulted in his daily life as well. And then he'll look up at the sky and go, why am I being treated so poorly? And God will spit on him and go, because you treat people poorly. Live what you preach, I guess, but still. And I know that none of us are angels, but seriously, people. It's I think the thing that really irritates me the most is hypocrisy in action. I mean, some people were literally a few feet away from this guy, and I was like, if only I were there. If only I was there, I would have said something, or done something, or whatever. I mean, it's a to each their own kind of thing. We each have our own way of perceiving things. We were each raised differently. And I cannot tell you just by looking at you if you're a whore or not. I'm sure if I really want to be a pain in the ass, I could do that. But it's just not the way I do things. Now, I have on occasion looked at a book going, this is going to be boring, and put it back on the shelf. But I mean, that's That's much more transitory. That's judging a work. That's like an object. This is about judging people, and you know, I'm gonna try and bring it back to Babylon 5 eventually, but I mean, people grow, people change, and sometimes people change very quickly. Sometimes people change very slowly. The characters in Babylon 5 change over the series. To the point where at the beginning of the series you're kind of like, okay, Jakar's kind of okay, but he's a real dick most of the time. And then you start to get to know him, and you start to see the plight his species goes through and the hardships he himself is forced to endure, losing an eye, and, you know, basically being at ground zero for a lot of bad things. And he's such a fascinating character by the end of the series. He's so amazing. And same with Londo. You at the beginning of the series, he's practically carefree. He spends all his time in the casino, but he harps on how the old days and all that crap, and he drinks a lot. But as the series goes on, he becomes more and more serious. And the moments where he's purely jovial are become farther and farther apart. And by the time the series is over, you truly pity his character. And those are just a couple of the examples. I mean, the telepath Lita Alexander, who reappears in the second season, like the episode I just watched, and she goes through this transformation of an outcast who's trying to find a purpose to she finds her purpose, then her purpose is taken from her, then she's trying to fit in, and the people she thought were friends don't know what's going on. Like, she doesn't stop to tell them, hey guys, I can't afford to live here anymore, can you help me? No, instead of asking for help, and from those people who she helped so often with her abilities, she essentially gets kicked to the curb by, well, I mean, it wasn't really her intention to, I suppose, but I mean, you watch this part where all of her friends supposedly have her around because she's a very useful person, she has skills, she has talents, she's a wonderful person, but when push came to shove and she couldn't afford a quarters on Babylon 5 anymore, there was no one to support her except Zach, and you know, he just kind of wanted to get into her pants. Anyways, I've gone on way too long about this, but as Garibaldi said, not Garibaldi, as Jakar says in an episode in season 2. Actually, he said it in season 1 as well. He said, "No one here is exactly who they appear." Don't judge a book by its cover, I guess. I got a lot of books, but you can't see a lot of their covers. Until next time, maybe I'll be less preachy tomorrow. Who knows?